very honored and very grateful to be given this opportunity. I must confess a little bit of embarrassment that I am not physically there and you are calling this a keynote address. I am just very happy to exchange notes with the participants in the program, and I look forward to hearing back from those who have participated and from you, Amit, on reactions and observations related to what I have to share. And these are just my views based a little bit on my experience, and I am sure, and they're by way of having a conversation rather than a definitive viewpoint. So I would love to get people's perspectives, those who are in the educational space, and hopefully engage in a conversation with them. Thank you very much also for your generous introduction. I have been at IIMA as its director now for a little over 11 months, and my wife was just asking me the other day, how does it feel like having been there now almost for a year? And I was saying that two images come to mind. One image is that there's a very big canvas and there's lots of paint, and I'm painting the canvas, and that's a very exciting and very enjoyable feeling, and you feel you are being creative, and you can see some of the impact of what you are doing. And the other feeling sometimes you get is that there's a very big mountain that you are trying to push, and however much energy and effort you put, the mountain's right there. And I was saying, perhaps in any job like this, you have a mix of these two sentiments. In my case, I'm very happy to say that looking back over these last 11 months, it feels 90% of the time I'm painting a canvas, and only about 10% of the time pushing a mountain. So it's been a great, wonderful journey so far, learned a lot, and I want to share, based on some of my learning and over these last 11 months, some thoughts on management education in India going ahead. And this has a little bit of a policy perspective on it, but I think it also has some implications for leaders of management institutions. You would have noticed in the last few years, and I'm sure many of the members of the Conclave will actually have experienced this, that in the last 5 years or 10 years, I would say more than 5, last 10 years or so, the decade of 2000s onwards, there has been a tremendous enthusiasm and interest in management education in India, and it has been reflected in the number of new management institutes that have been opened up, and the interest that people have had in strengthening and building management schools. Now, of course, that reduced somewhat after the financial crisis, but still, if you will look over a period of a decade or so, there has been a very significant growth in both the number of applicants to management institutes and also the number of management institutes that are offering education to our students. Now, there has also, and this has happened quite across the board, we've had both from the private sector, a number of entrepreneurial, exciting management schools coming in, and also from the public sector, the government supporting management institutes, and actually the most recent pronouncement by the new government saying they want to introduce several new IIMs, and all of which actually I would say is good news for a country with the size and profile of India. We are a very large nation. We have very, very diverse populations geographically and in terms of the nature of the economy as well. Our demography is very much youth-oriented. We have a lot of young children growing up and looking to join the workforce. We have a culture that pays attention to education and respects the educational training that you get. We have an economy that, in spite of the slowdown in the last 5 years, if you look over a longer time horizon in the past and you look to projections in the future, is one of the dynamic, rapidly growing economies in the world. So all of which actually suggests that having a number of good, high-quality management institutions in India is terrific. It gives skills and training to a workforce that is young and motivated to participate in an economy that is vibrant and growing. So it's at one level very good news that we have several management institutes that have come in and are planned. If you look at the number of very qualified Indian students that are going abroad every year to get management education in different institutions, that gives you a sense of a significant demand that is still being unmet with the good supply of management education. Having said that, I have two concerns, and one concern is that if we have a plethora of new institutions coming in without attention to quality of education being offered, there is a tremendous risk of what economists call race to the bottom. And our legal education in India went through some of this stress and is actually still going through some of this stress a few years ago. In fact, I was on a committee that the government had appointed a few years back to look at the quality of legal education schools. And I think there's a similar issue with management and business schools. And it goes as follows. If in society generally there is a good reputation for an MBA degree, because students who have been going to MBA schools have been coming out of the school skilled and knowledgeable and therefore have got job offers which reward them for these skills and knowledge, then people who are looking to go to professional schools begin to look at an MBA degree as a valuable degree to apply for and get. Seeing that an MBA degree is valued, we have different kinds of institutions enter in that space. From the private sector, there may be people who come in partly because they want to educate students, which is a terrific motive, partly because they want to do well economically, not bad. You want to do well while serving society, that's fine, sustainable model. But you also get what one may call fly-by-night operators. These are individuals, groups who come in and who want to trade off on the fact that an MBA degree is highly valued, and so open a management school but not really invest in developing the educational institution. And a lot of the investment happens to be what one calls soft investment. It's not just in infrastructure and buildings, but in having high quality teachers, having a learning experience which is valuable. So they underinvest or don't invest in these soft investments, and just because they're offering an MBA degree, a number of students come to the school and they charge whatever fee, high fees are charged, and make some significant profits for a few years for the promoters of these institutions. And then once their reputation has been tarnished because they've not really been adding much value to the students, close these institutions down. and during that intermediate period have made a significant financial gain for themselves. Of course, there's a negative consequence of their doing this, which is that people around begin to question the value of the MBA degree. Society begins to question the value of MBA degree. And other institutions that are providing good quality management education suffer the negative externality, negative impact of these schools having provided poor education. Something similar can also occur in the public sector. You might have people who are in power, politicians or bureaucrats, want to appease or honor their local constituencies by opening up management schools. And while they will open a management school and gain a lot of plaudits for starting them, actually running a management school and making sure that it has a level of quality and a level of consistency requires a significant investment of effort and energy over a long period of time. It has what one calls time compression diseconomies, which is just a very complicated way of saying that you can't quickly do this. It takes time to do this, and a lot of people who are setting up schools in the public sector are much more focused on the publicity one gets at opening the school rather than the hard work of actually then making sure it goes on to succeed over a long period of time. Consequence of both the private sector and public sector new schools being opened without being enough attention being paid to quality. The consequence is that you will have a lot of management schools, but a large number of those management schools do not have quality. And it begins to weaken the image of an MBA education, and society begins to then question what value it has to contribute. I would hazard to say that some of the perceived drop-off in interest in management education in the last few years, some of it has been because of the economic slowdown, but some of it also has been because of this race to the bottom, these fly-by-night operators having tarnished the image of MBA education. So that is one concern I have, which is that if we have an unregulated entry of new management institutions without attention to quality, we might end up with a large number of management institutions that are not providing quality education, and we might end up with the image of the management education being tarnished overall. So what's the solution for that? I think it's pretty straightforward, which is that there should be a mechanism of ensuring quality of management education and ensuring that that quality is monitored proactively. And the body that measures the quality of management education should also have the teeth to certify or decertify, accredit or de-accredit management institutions. Now we do have those, we do have on paper those capabilities within the educational system in India. What I would suggest is that we should really strengthen the internal monitoring and disciplining quality of these institutions, in addition to allowing new entries. So having new and many management institutes is great. It provides management education, democratizes it. It also provides good competition to the existing incumbents, makes sure that they don't get too lazy or comfortable. But on the other hand, we have to make sure that the race to the bottom doesn't take place. So allow free entry, but then have ongoing high quality measurement, quality evaluation, and disciplining of poor quality. That's one concern I have with the significant increase in management institutions, race to bottom. My second concern is that we have some very high quality management institutions in India which have over a long period of time, in the case of IMA for example, more than 5 decades, established themselves as institutions of meritocratic excellence. And these are really truly remarkable and wonderfully independent and high-quality institutions that I think every Indian ought to be proud of. And yet, we have a situation where if you look at the rankings of the top management institutions in the world, Indian institutions do not belong to the top 20 or top 25 or so. And in fact, there are some other institutions from other developing countries. China is one example, Chinese, Singapore, some other countries in Asia, where they were not anywhere in management education 50 years ago or 40 years ago, but have really zoomed to be in the top 25, 30. For an economy the size of India, for the kind of aspirations that we have, this is not acceptable. We should have, in the next 20 years or so, some of the top 25 institutions in the world should be Indian institutions. Now, in order to make that happen, it is absolutely critical that we nurture and support the Indian institutions of excellence. So in looking to democratize education, we should continue to, however, support and nurture our institutions of excellence. We shouldn't forget that. There is a certain minimum sort of scale economy effects in educational institutions. For my finance department to be truly vibrant, it is necessary that there be a certain minimum number of high quality finance faculty so that they can bounce ideas of one another, so that they can work together on projects of impact. So if we are able to support these institutions of excellence, in fact, it helps the entire nation in at least 3 different ways. One is it provides us with some role models for some of the other institutions to work with and to aim towards, to try to be like. The second benefit is that these institutions, because they are institutions of meritocratic excellence, their graduates, once they come out, have a confidence and a reputation for being truly excellent and are able and excellent on a global stage. And so they are able to represent the best of Indian MBA graduates, not only nationally but also internationally. And the third advantage is that it really keeps us on the cutting edge in the flow of top quality management education, so that we benefit from cutting edge thoughts. We are able to have teams of our people working with and interacting with the best researchers worldwide. So I think we have to make sure that even as we try to democratize education, both through private sector efforts and public sector efforts, we continue to nurture and strengthen the institutions of excellence that we are already blessed with. And so, in some ways, this is an appeal both to the government to continue to support institutions like IIM, and others, which have shown themselves to be truly institutions of excellence, so that we go on to be major players on the world stage, but also to private sector individuals who are interested in supporting education in the country to partner with institutions like ours so that they can see the fruit of their labor relatively quickly. Now, of course, all this requires on the part of leadership of institutions like IIMA a certain responsiveness, a certain ability, willingness to be accountable to the parties that are investing in these institutions, whether private sector or philanthropists or private sector philanthropists or the government. And we should, those at the helms of these institutions should make sure that they use whatever support and resources are given, that they are able to explain how they are being used in a productive manner. But I think the world of management education is changing very, very dramatically. It's a much more open world today. It's not as autarkic as it was before. So leaders of these top quality institutions, their horizons today are global. They need the help and support of institutions both inside private sector and public sector. And they need to be competitive and responsive to their various constituencies. So let me conclude actually by saying that as we look at management education in the years ahead, the challenge at a policy level for the government is how to democratize education while ensuring quality and also ensuring ongoing support to some of the existing premier institutions. That's at the public sector policy level. At the private sector level, I think the challenge is how to nurture and build new educational institutions with a high level of quality, but simultaneously how to support the existing institutions so that they can rise to greater heights. The challenge for the leaders of management schools and management institutions, for new institutions, it is how to develop high quality education and an ability to serve our students effectively. And for existing institutions like ours, it is how to make sure that we are able to build on our strengths and be able to be responsive to those who are reposing their trust in us with investments of time, energy, and resources. Thank you very much. Let me close this now. I look forward, Amit, to feedback on this from you and from other participants. Please treat this as a conversation, and I'm very grateful for being given the opportunity.